Okay, for this one, we're looking at 9 4, solving quadratic functions by graphing. So a thing I want to talk about is the zero product property, and that's this thing right here, this AB equals 0 thing. This right here, if you think about two numbers that multiply together make 0, what must be true? One of those numbers or both of those numbers have to be 0. So if you look at this, it says what's the solution of the equation 4t plus 1 times t minus 2 equals 0? Well, that's like a times b equals 0. So all you do is say 4t plus 1 equals 0, and you do t minus 2 equals 0, and you just solve these two little itty bitty linear equations. So 4t equals negative 1, so t is negative 1/4. And then this guy you add 2, so t is 2. So your two answers are negative 1/4 and 2. Makes sense? Why don't you go ahead, pause the vid, do the got it, and I'll see you back here in just a minute. All right. Another thing you can do to solve quadratics, besides solving it by graphing or by square root, square root only works when you don't have a b term. Here you have x squared plus 8x plus 15 equals 0. This guy right here is throwing a curveball in what we're trying to do. Now, essentially, we do know that this thing opens up and that it crosses at 15, so it has two x-intercepts. It could have two x-intercepts, and we could find it by graphing, but more effectively, we could solve this by factoring. So if you remember the x factor, and we go at like a times c, so in this case it's 15, and b is 8, we list our factors of 15 that add up to 8, and I believe that's 3 and 5. So then we do this right here. And remember we put the x squared over here in the corner, and down here we put the 15, and then we put a 3x here, and we put a 5x here, and then we play tic-tac-toe. Going this way, left to right, you got an x. Going this way, you have a 3. Up and down, you have another x. Up and down, you have a 5. So it's your factors are x plus 5 times x plus 3, and that equals 0. So then you're back to what we did in the last example. So you say x plus 5 is equal to 0, or x plus 3 is equal to 0. And you got two little itty-bitty equations, x equals negative 5 and x equals negative 3. Now on a graph, what that means then is our parabola would cross at 15, so here's 15 right there, and then it actually crosses the x-axis at negative 5 and negative 3. So you get an idea that it looks something like this. Okay? But that's bonus. That's bonus. Okay? So you have three got it's that you got to do. Go ahead and take a moment, pause the video, and I'll see you in a second. If you have any questions, write them down. We'll talk about them in class. Okay, now, same thing for problem number 3, only this time it's not equal to 0. So I have to bring that 18 over. So 4x squared minus 21x minus 18 equals 0. Well, how'd that happen? I took 18 away from both sides. Okay, now here we are. We look to see, we're going to do x factor. So a times c, 4 times negative 18. 4 times negative 18 is what? 4 times negative 18 is negative 72, and our b term is negative 21. So we list our factors of 72, 1 and negative 72, 2 and I believe 34, 3 going to 72, 3 and negative 24, and there you have it, negative 24 and positive 3. I draw my rectangle here, and in the upper left hand corner I put the 4x squared. Down here I put the negative 18, and then I put the 3x and the negative 24x. Left to right there's the 4x. Left to right there's a positive 3. Up and down I have x. Up and down I have a negative, I believe, 6. And so it's x minus 6 times 4x plus 3, and that's supposed to equal 0. We set each one was equal to 0. X minus 6 equals 0, and 4x plus 3 equals 0. So you get x equals 5, and 4x equals negative 3, or x is negative 3/4, and x is equal to 5. Easy enough. Why don't you go ahead and try to do the got it? I'll see you back here in a minute. All right, here's a problem. Using like a story problem. So it says you are constructing a frame for the rectangular photo shown. You want the frame to be the same width all the way around and the total area of the frame and photo to be 315 inches squared. What should the outer dimensions of the frame be? Now, if you think about it, the outer dimensions of the frame, that's what they need to figure out what X is. Okay. So really, you want to get the full area of everything. So on this, you want to get the total length and the total width. So if I start here and I walk, I go X, then I go 17, and then I go X. So I have dimensions of 2X plus 17. And going up and down, start at X, go up 11, and another X, and I get 2X plus 11. But that has to equal 315. So what I'm going to do here, it's a little bit crazy, but I am actually going to FOIL this. So I get 4x squared and I get 17 times 11. What is 17 times 11? What is 17 times 11? It is 187, so plus 187, right? And then this is plus 17 times 2, which is 34x, plus 22x. So when you bring this together, you get 4x squared plus 56x plus 187, and that's equal to 315. But to do this, I have to make sure that it's equal to 0. So I'm going to subtract 315 from both sides. So 187 take away 315, 187 take away 315, that brings me to negative 128. So I got 4x squared plus 56x minus 128, and that equals 0. Now I could factor this, but before I factor this, I have to double check and make sure that there's nothing that I can pull out. And if I look at this, 56 and 128, that seems kind of weird, so I can pull out a 4. So I'm going to divide everything by 4, and now I get x squared plus x squared plus 14x minus 32, and that equals 0. Now I can actually solve this. So if I do the x factor, I'm going to go, see, that's negative 32. That adds up to 14. So what are my factors of negative 32? 1 and negative 32. 2 and negative 16. 3 go into it. 4 and negative 8. 5 go into it. Nope. 6 go into it. Nope. 7 go into it. Nope. Oh, you know what? We found it. It's not 2 and negative 16. It's 16 and negative 2. So it's 16 and negative 2. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put x squared here, and I'm going to put the negative 32 here, and I'm going to put a 16x there and a negative 2x there. Going this way, it's an x. Going this way, I believe it's a 16. Up and down is an x, and here it's a negative 2. So I get x minus 2 times x plus 16 equals 0. So x minus 2 equals 0, or x plus 16 equals 0. So you get x equals 2, or x equals negative 16. Well, we can throw out this negative 16 because we're talking about the real life, so it needs to be 2 inches and 2-inch frame around your stuff. So go ahead and check off anything that you understand. Do you know what the zero product property is? Do you know what a quadratic equation is? And do you remember how to factor and rate yourself? Hopefully, I'm sorry this went a little long, but you know, need to go through it. If there's any questions, please write it down. I'll see you in class tomorrow, and may the force be with you.